Hi everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and we're doing another subscriber chart reading. And today we're going to be looking at a Pluto third house soul, and we're also going to be looking at a very different dynamic to the ones that we've been looking at it before. And I'm super excited to get stuck into this chart for not only our Patreon, but also for those of you that are following this series and really enjoying the way that we understand an astrology chart from an EA perspective. So let's go ahead and have a look at what we're looking at here. Okay, so as we know, we start with Pluto in the 10th house, Pluto, and we see that Pluto is in the third, as I mentioned, and this is a soul that comes into this lifetime, and their deepest desires, the deepest essence of what is going to be an evolutionary trajectory over a couple of lifetimes, is about how do I organize the nature of my life in a way that is about the facts, the opinions, the perceptions, the different ways in which we as human beings can understand ourselves. So we have this phenomena of reality, okay? And this phenomena reflects to us this existence. Now, our mental plane, our minds, they try and interact with that. And they create a certain set of sequences and logical patterns and gathering of information that helps us, or especially in your case, helps you digest what you are perceiving, what you're taking in, what you're seeing. And it puts it into a structure that allows you to then communicate. And so what you'll notice about your life is that as you interact with people at a deep psychological and emotional level, you're really listening to how people organize their thoughts, how they communicate what their truth is about, and how they come to these conclusions about what reality is and not, right? And it doesn't have to be that deep and that intense, but it is something there that is that's working. Now you've got Pluto in the third house of the astrology chart in Scorpio. So the first thing that we can recognize here when we look at the natural zodiac, which is the way that the zodiac is set up naturally, Aries on the ascendant, we can see here that you just for clarification's case, you have a Leo on the ascendant. When I said Aries on the ascendant, I mean when the zodiac is not, when it's just operating, i.e., yeah. So we have this natural zodiac, and Scorpio and Gemini, they kind of don't really see each other, okay? So in your mind, you're penetrating to the depths and you're trying to understand the deeper complexes of life, and you're curious about how things work, and you're into all the taboo, and you're learning about astrology and potentially numerology and tarot. And yet what you find yourself doing is just being very, very like intense in one place, but being very fixed in that. And sometimes you can find yourself being so emotionally absorbed in the process of what you're fixated on, that you don't leave any room to question the nature of what you are perceiving for your own personal truth. So it's very important to understand that as a Pluto seventh house, I was reading that you've got Pluto at 7 degrees. As you got Pluto in the third, the evolutionary trajectory, right, for the soul is to understand the differences in other people's truths and opinions. So that's your opinion, that's your truth. But to not take the truth or the opinion as the fact that is existing for you, but simply to recognize, does it offer you resonance? So I mentioned this in one of my radio shows, or not my radio show, but I was having a radio show. And I spoke about my brother who has Pluto in the third house in Scorpio as well. And he would have 6 books, and 5 of the books would have a specific perspective, and then the 6th book would have a completely different perspective. And he was like, I don't know which one to believe. And I said to him, well, the question is, it doesn't matter which one you need to believe. The question is, how do you resonate with the truth that exists within those books? And he said, well, I resonate with the one that's just the one. And I said, oh, that's it. That's what you're here for. You have to penetrate the depths and ask the questions that are about your own personal direction. And of course, you'll come across experiences where you'll be excited to explore new things, but ultimately you're here to really go from a very logical way of doing things to something that's deeply intuitive, okay? And you can see here with the Sun conjunct Pluto, this is a very active Plutonian energy for you. You're very creative. I know I have Pluto conjunct the Sun as well, and it's a very beautiful energy because here I am, just saying hello and creatively expressing, and you do need that. It's very important for you to be expressing yourself and communicating and sharing with the world what it is that you perceive and not. And communication is a very big part of your life, not only because Venus is there, and Venus teaches you how to relate, right? It recognizes what your needs are, and it helps you understand what other people's needs are. So when Venus, the Sun, and Pluto are all in that dynamic over there, it's about communication, right? But it's communication of your own truth, communication of your developing of your own sense of self. And it's interesting because if you have a look at the chart, you can see the moon is conjunct the south node in the second house Libra. And yeah, we have another paradox again, because the second house of the astrology chart is all about my internal needs and how do I recognize what is sufficient for me. And then I want to learn how to externalize that. I want to say to the people, hey, I have these certain resources. I'm really good at understanding my resources. I'm happy to share. But with the moon on top of that south node, it tells me that prior life dynamics is that you've definitely been very aware of meeting other people's needs, Libra, okay, and especially their emotional needs. And you might have had a certain sense of identity, moon, that has been linked with other people's needs and the identification of other people's needs and communicating, to the point where you may have actually lost what is your own personal truth. So this is a lifetime that you are progressively integrating your own direct experience with others as a way of sharing. And so you're in this dynamic of, I'm listening. Oh, that's interesting perspective. This is my own, and now I'm going to share it with you. And as you do this interchange between sharing of thoughts and ideas and facts and opinions, you're growing your own awareness of what is the truth for you, and you're listening and receiving the truth of others, and you're comparing and contrasting between the two. And so comparing and contrasting is a Libra archetype. And this is about creating yourself. This is about your own personal self-creation, Pluto conjunct the Sun. And it's about being a participant in the way in which we communicate the ideas, perspectives, and thoughts. And so with Mars squaring your Pluto, right, and Mars squaring your Sun sign, of course, and Venus, there can be tension here around, and because Mars is in your 6th house Aquarius, there can be tension here around needing to give validation to your perspective in a world that might reject what you say because it seems to be very unique, offbeat, or differentiated. So I encourage you to recognize that this is a lifetime of aligning yourself with certain people and groups that have a similar thinking pattern to yourself, so that you can feel that you can come out and express your truth without any judgments, criticisms, or feeling a sense of lack. Okay? Fantastic. Well, I really hope that you got something out of this, my Patreon subscriber. And for those of you that watch this on YouTube, thanks very much for listening. I hope you got value out of this as well. Until the next conversation, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.